Okay, today's video, what we're going to do is go over the basic operations of the pump operator. First thing you need to do when you get here is you need to make a quick inspection of the truck. You need to make sure all compartments are closed and latched. This compartment especially, this compartment contains all of your plumbing. Contains your inputs, your hoses, extra nozzles, and down here are fittings and other appliances that you need for plumbing. These shelves latch. Make sure they're latched. Additional inspection, again, is check all compartments, make sure they're all closed. Somebody needs to go around, make sure there's nothing in front of the tires. Make sure the back doors are closed. Make sure none of the fittings are hanging off the back. And the same thing down this side. Make sure all your compartments are closed and latched. Now you're ready to get started. All right, this next segment we'll go ahead and show you how to get started. This first thing that you do is to pull this air coupling off. It's very difficult to do when the air pressure's on it. This thing will pop out when you start the truck. Climb up in. Try to avoid the siren button here. First thing to do is get familiar with the controls. We'll start up here. You've got your mirror adjustments. And down here you've got your lights. You've got a master light switch, turns them all on. And then you have individuals. You've got your upper warning lights, your lower lights, and your wigwags on the front. Over here you've got your work light. There's your master switch. You've got a left and a right work light. Those are your quartz lights, scene lights. The rest of these are really not important to what we're doing at this point. Although we have a master warning light switch right there. Okay, now you're ready to start. At this point, you put your foot on the brake. You turn on the master batteries. This turns on the engine. That's your engine start. A lot of times you'll get warning signals of when your air pressure is not built up. Here's your air gauges right here. Your truck's running. Now you're ready to go. Let's go ahead and put our headsets on. Turn them on this side. Turn them up. Make sure everybody in the truck has headsets before you go. So now you're ready to go. At this point, you'll take your parking brake off. Push it in to turn it off. You'll put yourself in gear and you're ready to go. The warning lights will flash and tell you if any of the compartments are open. It'll also tell you if any of the shelves are not latched. This should be quiet and silent when you leave. But now you're ready to go. You've now reached the scene. You stop, put it in neutral, put your parking brake on. At this point, you come out of the truck. The truck will still be running. Your first function is to get these chocks in place. The next function you want to do, you want to make sure that water gets to your pump. So you pull this handle all the way out. It says tank to pump. That allows water to come from the tank and get into the pump. You don't want to run your pump dry, if at all possible. The second thing I always do is I establish circulation. So this handle allows water to discharge from your pump back into the tank. So now you've created a circulation of water. So when this pump starts, it'll have water, it'll be moving. Our next probable function is go ahead and establish your water supply. You're either going to be pumping out of a water supply or you're going to be receiving water from an auxiliary unit. This is called an intake. This handle right here controls that intake. At this moment, this intake is closed. This is your intake pressure. If you're being supplied by a nurse tanker, it may actually show pressure. More often than not, it doesn't indicate much pressure, if any. The next function that you'll want to do is you'll want to be sure you've set up your attack, all of your pump outputs and discharges. What we have done, we have a number of pre-connected hoses to this truck. You will find the handles and their corresponding badges. They've been color-coded. The red pre-connect is attached to the red hose. And down below here, I have put a piece of tape that tells you, there will be a label that tells you how many feet of hose is connected to that pre-connect. The badges, as I say, are color-coded, blue to blue hose, 250 feet. We have the det gun up top. There is a discharge on the far side of the vehicle. And now we've got rear pre-connects. We've got a white hose that's got 150 feet on it. It's an 1 3/4 hose. We have a left rear yellow pre-connect with 200 feet of hose. And then we have a 2.5-inch pre-connect. It's over on the right side of the back. And it's white hose, even though it's color-coded green. You'll find corresponding badges near the hoses and corresponding badges here. Here are your supply line hoses. This is 2.5-inch, and this is 3-inch. For our tack setups, oftentimes we may need to apply some sort of an adapter or a Y. Those are located here in this bin. Okay, at this point now, we've got our water supply established and hooked up. We've got our attack lines established and hooked up. We're ready to start the pump. Be sure your circulation is set. Your tank to pump is pulled. Your tank fill is pulled. You're ready to start the pump. You start this from the cab. Your truck will be running. Now this thing runs off a transfer case, which means that you need to transfer your power from the wheels to the pump. In order to do that, again, your truck is running. Okay, your truck now is in neutral, and you will go to this switch right here. It has a thumb depress. You put it down one. That takes everything out of gear. You go a second location, and now your pump is in gear. Your truck will no longer move, but your pump is in gear. Okay, the final step now is to put your transmission in drive. Now your pump should be running. At this point now, your pump is running in idle. This is your control panel for your pump control. The first thing is that you have two options for mode. You can run it in an RPM mode or a pressure mode. We always want to run it in the pressure mode. You will be able to see a small green light there to tell you which mode you're in. At that point, you are ready to control your pressures. So you will increase your RPMs and you will watch your pressures go up on your discharge. This is the pressure at the outlet side of the pump in the manifold. Ideally, you will run it up here at some pressure greater than 100 psi. Technically, all our nozzles are set at 100 psi standard pressure. So you should be running at 100 psi plus whatever friction loss that you have in your hose. A first approximation is go ahead and run it up to 150 psi. That'll pretty much cover everything you need. Now your pump's running, your pressures, our discharge pressures are set up and ready to go. At this point, you will be supplying water. You'll be supplying through whichever pre-connect has been deployed in attack mode. First thing to be sure though, be sure all of your hose is deployed. None of the hose is left on the truck. Be sure the people on the nozzle are ready to go. Communication is critical. You're ready to pull this handle, and you can pull it, and you will control that pressure based on how far you pull this handle. It doesn't have to be equal to this. That's pretty unique in the fact that you can control the pressure on every hose on here. During all this, you'll be receiving water, hopefully from a secondary source. There'll be times when you'll be running out of your own tank. You need to monitor this water level gauge continuously. You do not want to run it below 25%. If you do, if you run the pump dry, you will leave your hose crews in a dangerous situation. So monitor this throughout the job. This truck is equipped with two scene lights. They're right here behind the cab. You have a lock. They will extend and rotate wherever you want them to go. Lock them down. There's a master switch in the cab that you should have already turned on. And there are two switches right here. And they will turn the scene lights on, both left and right. At the end of the job, be sure to police your unit. One of the major things is be sure these scene lights are retracted when you finish. You're at the fire setting up your water supply. Your water supply is coming to you. They will bring you a male fitting. I should have done this first. And you will hook it in right here. They will begin pumping you water, and you will open it right here. We've inspected our truck. We're ready to go. We jump up in, put on the brake. We're ready to go. We've reached location. We're ready to begin our deployment. Establish our circulation. Get our chocks in place. Deploy our hose. At this point, our hose is deployed. We're still waiting on water supply. So now we're mid to engage the pump. So we'll come back here. Okay. At this point, parking brake is on. You're in neutral. One position. Takes everything out of gear. Our pump is now in gear. To get it moving, we need to put the transmission back in drive. Okay. You can see we're at idle, and we're already producing 45 psi in the discharge. Be sure that you are in pusher mode. Hopefully you can see that little light. At this point, we begin increasing. See the engine RPMs going up? See your pusher going up. You can modify that pressure by shutting back the tank, recharge a little bit. Ready on the hose. Now we begin. Be sure you're on the hose reel. Now you're pumping water. Be shut down. Go ahead and shut off your water. Go to idle. Reestablish your circulation. Okay, you're on the fire. You're already pumping water. And now supply has showed up. They'll bring you a hose. You do not have to shut down. Now, communicate with your tender. Tell them you're ready for water. When the water starts flowing, pull this handle up. You will then be receiving water from your auxiliary supply. Here's your water level. Notice it's completely full. It is possible to overflow this tank, but you really don't want to do. You can manage your water supply right here at the panel. Ideally, you'd like to be receiving just as much water as you're pumping, at which point your tank will remain full. If they're supplying you more water than you're pumping, you can control that, either by communicating with your water supply and have them reduce the delivery pressure, or more immediately, you can control that with this handle right here. The higher you pull it, the more water you're taking in, and any point intermediate. When you're ready to rewind the hose, there's a tow button right down here. Be very careful because this thing rewinds pretty quickly. And tuck it in at the top because there's no brake on that drum. The fire's out, you're ready to go home. You need to turn the pump off. Put your transmission in neutral. Then go to your switch. One position, two positions. You're now ready to drive away. A little more policing and you're ready to go. You've turned your pump off. You're ready to finish up and go home. Close these valves. Make sure all your hoses are disconnected. All your covers are in place. Be sure your scene lights are down. And locked. And all of your compartments are closed. You're ready to go home.
Caution, door ajar or compartment open.
You're at the house now, ready to shut her down. Neutral, parking brake. Shut the engine off first. And then shut the electrics off. The reason you do that is the step will stay out when you shut it off. Now you're home. At this point, you're home. Plug her back in. Plug in the air. Plug in the electrical. You're ready to go.